Oh,
The board of meeting order on this Monday, November the 9th, 2020. Would you please read the preamble, Ms. Kukla?
Sure. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble this morning. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law under COVID-19 emergency declaration, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute. Sorry, Maurice, I was reading. And announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen.
Excellent.
All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Please call the roll.
Thank you. Ms. Barnes.
Barnes is here.
Thank you. Mr. Donovan.
here.
Ms. Faith. Do we have Ms. Faith? We still don't see
Let's
Ms. Faith.
see.
I am present.
Thank you. And Mrs. Johnson.
Present.
Mrs. Johnson, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have any oh, here we go. Withdrawn. On calendar
Yes.
19-301, we have a request for a withdrawal.
Madam Chair, I
Yes,
believe
yes.
they've reached a tentative agreement with the city of Cleveland.
Yippee. And they would like to withdraw
Without objection.
Correct.
without objection.
Without objection.
Okay, we are,
Without objection.
okay.
Objection.
Ms. Faith, are you reading? Can you? 20-160, can you read it?
Yes.
Oh, go right ahead.
Okay. Calendar number 20-162 at 894 Pelley Avenue. Karen Boda Krobach, owner, proposes to erect a 7-foot by 28-foot womanized wooden open front porch to existing family residents in an A1 one-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. History of the property. Oh, Tim, are you going to swear everybody in?
Everyone for this case, please raise your right hand. I'm going to read a statement. I'm looking for a response of I do with your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? All for this case.
I do.
Your name?
Jeff Burrus.
Okay. Anyone else?
Tony Brancatelli.
Okay. Anyone else?
The two that should be on call.
I'm sorry, did somebody else?
Howard
we need to
Square,
do
I'm a
that?
home builder.
Okay. Anyone else?
Do we need to do that, Karen?
Yes,
Kropak?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, I don't know how to raise the hand.
No, physically raise your hand.
There it is. It's raised.
Way to go, Karen.
I'm looking for I do in your name.
Karen Kropak and
Bogdan Krobach.
Okay.
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 Anyone else?
We have everybody now?
Boyer.
Okay. History of the
Boyer.
Okay, we got you a couple times now, Howard. That's good.
Hey,
Okay.
can I say something right off the bat?
No.
It's the,
No, not-
No, we have to
Not
wait.
yet. All right, anyone else for signing for the? Okay, sounds like we got everybody.
okay. History of the property, please, Mrs. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In the records room, I found a permit was issued in 1977 to erect a single-family dwelling with cellar. And there are no variances on file and nothing of note in the more recent history.
The legal standard will be judging the case on, please, Ms. Wagner. Ms. Wagner? Oh,
She's a call-in user. You might be muted, Lori.
Okay, you had muted me. I had muted myself. But anyway, appellant's requesting an area variance from the side yard regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
thank you very much, Ms. Wagner. Karen?
Yes.
Okay, tell us exactly what you'd like to do.
Okay, so we're putting a front porch on, and we've kind of narrowed the porch down so that the corner of the front porch is 5 feet away from the property line. We wanted to make sure that we weren't near our neighbor's property line. Our house is actually 3 feet away from the property line, so we thought that 5 feet would be enough. The porch is not 28 feet wide. It's actually going to be 21 feet wide or 20 feet wide. So it's a 7 by 20. So the permit was actually, it was not correct.
And it's not.
And it's Trek. It's made out of Trek and it's vinyl coated.
Okay. Somebody named Jeff was sworn in on this case?
Certainly, Councilman Brancatelli, this is Jeff Foresby from Old Brooklyn CDC. Councilman, do you want to go first or do you want me to go?
No, he likes to go last.
Great. So this is Jeff Foresby. I'm the executive director of Old Brooklyn CDC. Mr. and Mrs. Kroback have lived in Old Brooklyn for 4 decades. They have children and grandchildren that now live in the neighborhood. They're active church members, community members, Little League coaches, you name it. They do everything. And I think we're all looking for more spaces to enjoy our homes right now during COVID-19. And this is the exact type of investment we want in our homes. So OBCDC certainly encourages it. There are numerous other homes on the cul-de-sac that the Krobacks live on that have front porches of very similar size and design. So it fits within the other nearby homes. And we know that, investments like this are the types of things that keep our housing stock more attractive. So OBCDC supports the variance.
Thank you very much. Besides the councilman, who else was sworn in?
We had a call-in user.
No, that was Howard. I'm the builder, but I have nothing to say now.
Okay, thank you very much. We'd like to hear from Councilman Brancatelli.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. For all those reasons that Director Jeff Foresby had stated, plus more, fully support this. There's a lot of those homes along that area which have virtually no porch, just steps up. This is a great value addition to the property, and I support the family building this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City of Cleveland?
Madam Chair, this is Maurice Rowland, City Planning. Yeah, we would echo all of those same sentiments. The main thing here is that they were good. They did not allow the porch to get any closer to the property line than their house already is. So we would fully support this.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion unless there's some other questions.
I had a question.
Yes, and you are?
Howard for him, the builder.
Okay.
Getting a permit, how long would that take?
We ratify this decision next week and then you could go pick it up.
Next week. Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Madam Chair, clarification for that. He's not going to receive his permit after it's ratified. He'll receive the variance, which will be delivered back to Building and Housing, and then he'll have to get a permit from there. He'll have to work with them to complete the permit process.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And if I could just add, Madam Chair, Councilman Francatelli here, I have taken on the task to learn how to do permits online, and have found the Building and Housing Department's online permitting is an amazing protocol. You can download the files, download your drawings, and a review process is pretty quick. So, and you can pay online. So you don't even need to come to City Hall and pay for parking. So thank you.
Thank you for the plug. Thank you for the plug on that.
That's news to me too. How wonderful.
That's excellent.
Yeah, okay. I will entertain a motion, please.
Okay, Madam Chair, just a question to Ms. Kukla. Do we need to make any language change in the statement on the agenda, since the building material is now going to be Trex and vinyl coated?
And the dimensions are
railing,
different.
And the dimensions are different?
Yes, we
Can
can
I-
put that, we can make those changes on the, I guess in the resolution, we could just note that the dimensions were clarified, and I will put the specific dimensions in them.
Yeah.
Okay,
The-
all right.
the-
And I think that the dimension is now 7 foot by 20, is that what you said?
Yeah, it's 20.
to the
It's
Crowback?
20 by 4. It's on the blueprint.
Yes.
Okay, so the,
It's on
So
the
the
print. And
blueprint-
it also shows Trex too on the print.
okay, so on the print, everything is correct, so we don't need new
Correct.
plans.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Exactly.
All right,
Everything's
thanks.
on the print.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. Does
Everything's on
that
the print.
satisfy, thank you. Does that satisfy everything you're gonna need, Mrs. Kukla?
Yes.
Okay, great. Madam Chair, I will go ahead and make the motion for calendar number 20-162. The plans that have been submitted are correct, given dimensions and building materials, given the testimony from the director of the Old Brooklyn CDC, and the testimony and support by Councilman Brackatelli. I would like to motion that we approve this variance.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Barnes? Ms. Barnes?
Barnes,
Oh.
yes.
Thank you. Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Ms. Bates?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 20-162 is granted. We will ratify it next week and send you a letter.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Calendar 20-163.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-163, appealing Planning Commission decision regarding 5617 Memphis Avenue. Christine Marie, limited owner, and MSP Properties of Ohio, prospective purchaser, appeal under the authority of Section 76-6B of the Charter of the City of Cleveland and Section 329.02D of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances from the decision of the City Planning Commission dated September 18th, 2020, filed October 13th. Filed October 13th, 2020.
Excuse me, everyone, please mute your microphone if you're not currently speaking. It's very distracting.
Okay. Go ahead, Tim.
All right, everyone for this case, raise your right hand. I'm looking for a response of I do with your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name.
Do.
I do.
You need your name. I do.
Happen and Coin.
Okay,
Happen.
Jeff Respi.
all right.
I do, Shannon Leonard.
Boy. Anyone else?
Freddie Collier.
Okay. Anyone else? I think we got them all, Maurice.
Okay, history of the property, no, we didn't have it yet. Go ahead, Miss. No, we did. The legal standard we'll be judging this case on will be from Miss Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is appealing an administrative decision. The standard of review to be applied is whether the administrative decision was illegal, arbitrary, capricious, unreasonable, or unsupported by the preponderance of substantial, reliable, and probative evidence. If the appellant fails to meet this burden, the administrative decision must be affirmed.
Thank you very much. It was the owner sworn in? I didn't get all the names. Maurice, was she?
Yeah, I believe everybody was sworn in.
Okay. I'd like to hear from whoever's the owner of Kristen.
Yeah. Madam Chair, this is Tony Coyne. I'm a land use counsel for the developer MSP, and I'd like to make a preliminary statement and let Dean Spong, who's the architect for the project, Mitchell Pappin is also here to answer any questions. We did submit a timeline of key events for the Board of Zoning Appeals to review, and I just want to mention that this project has been in place for some time. The end user will be a Dollar General. They are the tenant for this project. Dollar General had previously, with another developer, had proposed a new store adjacent to the library in Old Brooklyn. That project went through detailed design review. It did require a variance from the PRO, and that was not granted. So that project did not proceed. During that period of time, Dollar General and this developer as well expressed an interest in continuing to invest in the city of Cleveland and in the Old Brooklyn neighborhood. They had communications with the Old Brooklyn Community Development Corporation, as did I. And several sites were directed to Dollar General to review and look at, and a site located at 5617 was identified as a site that would accommodate a Dollar General store. That was in February of 2020. In April of 2020, a schematic design proposal was issued and the application was made for project approval. A Near West design review meeting took place concerning the project on April 22nd, 2020. There were conference calls and meetings between April and May concerning the project and its design. It did receive approval from the design review committee, and it also was in receipt from, I believe, Mr. Riccardi, confirmation that the zoning was appropriate for this use, and also that the site plan required virtually no variances. And again, the zoning line for this local retail use is consistent along all of Memphis Avenue. And when the architect takes you through the site, you'll see that it's contextual in its location. It's near Dina's Pizza and Pub. It's across from McDonald's. I believe it's an abandoned auto overflow parking for Dina's, and there's an AutoZone nearby, a Subway nearby, Dairy Queen, Taco Bell. All of them are obviously nationally branded businesses and uses. So the matter went to the City Planning Commission on June the 19th. No action was taken because of a pending ordinance. There was a second Planning Commission meeting that was held, and the commission requested that the building be presented in context with the surrounding neighborhood, and some suggested renderings were, modifications to the renderings were made. They did not overturn any design issues from the local design review. Design changes were made and presented to the commission at the September 4th meeting, I believe. And there was a subsequent public meeting on the project on September 17th. I don't believe the client participated directly in the meeting. I can't recall that for sure, but nevertheless, it went to the Planning Commission. Planning Commission denied it on September the 18th. And again, this meets the zoning code, meets there are no variances required, and the design is in my view, for this local community business use, acceptable. There were no code issues presented for this not to proceed. Fortunately, under the city's codified ordinances, the appeal to the Board of Zoning Appeals is to be made within 30 days after Planning Commission review. There really are no guidelines that are specific other than the ones that Attorney Wagner read to the commission. So I note that Mr. Spong will do a presentation of the design. And before he does that, I do want to make one other comment. I don't know. I live in the city of Cleveland. I have never presented a project that I was not of the opinion that it was appropriate in scale, size, design, and land use. I also had an issue 68 sign up in front of my house and supported issue 68. This current property's tax valuation, tax bill is about $4,000 a year, which obviously goes to the Cleveland Public Schools. There's no incentive, there's no abatement, there's no financial package to support this project. It's all being done by the private sector. When the investment's completed, the building's up and Dollar General is open, aside from the sales tax and the income tax based upon the current tax structure in the city, this will produce over $60,000 a year in property tax. I think it's important to remember that, because when a developer, anybody wants to invest in the city, you should play by the rules and follow the code. And I think they did that in this case. So with that, I'd like Mr. Spong to present what was presented basically to the Planning Commission. And then if the Board of Zoning Appeals has questions, we'd be glad to answer those questions and obviously hear from the rest of the public that are taking the time to participate in this meeting. And I thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Coyne, Carol,
Yeah.
I would like to ask one quick question. I have a
Yes.
Dollar General X in the building downstairs.
Yes, right.
Is this going to be a Dollar General X or just a regular Dollar General?
Okay, it's going to be branded as a Dollar General, and you'll see the presentation, but the interior is very much like what's called a DGX, which is you're referring to the one in the Reserve Square building, I take it.
Right, right.
This will be very much like that. It will probably have more product, more freezer food storage or freezer product. There will also be fresh produce, vegetables, fruits in this store. So it's very similar to that DGX. The DGX is a little bit smaller, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now let's hear from Dean. Hello, Dean?
Dean, you have the floor. Hold on one second. Let me make sure there's not a problem.
And you're muted.
He's muted.
Dean has been having some trouble. He just texted me that it keeps breaking up on him, but he just tried to call in by phone and then watch it on the computer. If he can't speak, I can speak for him until he's on.
And you are?
Mitchell Papin. I'm the developer for this site.
Go ahead.
Okay, so as you can see here is the property that I'm looking to purchase. It's a vacant lot for 15 years now. It's just grass. And I plan on building a Dollar General. It's about a little over half an acre. So next slide. Site plan of it, a little closer view. Next, please. So this is a photo of what is next to the property. To the left of the property. Yeah, go ahead, Dean. Are you there, Dean?
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, to the left of it is
I think I'm here. Can you guys hear me? Oh,
Yes.
Pal.
Yes.
I apologize, everybody.
Go ahead, Dean. Go ahead and speak.
Do you want me to just, considering I've missed 80% of the conversation this morning, I'll just kick off where we're looking here. So, Again, what Mitchell is showing here is the existing site context right now looking southwest of the adjoining property. So you can see the bottom image is what the property currently looks like right now. And then we've kind of slid a little bit over towards West 56. So you can see that the West 56th Street, and you can see the property to our west. I'm sorry, to our east. Next slide, please. And now you're looking back the other direction. Again, looking at the vacant site, which is currently 4 parcels, just as Mitchell mentioned, just about 6.8 acres of vacant space. And then you can see the, I believe it's 30 facility right there. Next slide.
He's breaking up.
Let's go back to Mitchell. Come on, we have to keep moving here.
Yeah, I'll take over,
Next slide,
Dean. So
please.
across the street is a McDonald's. Next, please. This is the survey of the property. It shows the 4 parcel lots. Next, please. This is the proposed layout of the property. You can see the building shape and then all the landscaping and how the parking and entering and exiting of the property is. Next, please. This is a close-up of the landscape. Again, we're going to have a lot of grass, a lot of trees, a very pretty landscape of the Memphis Avenue. And then you can see the parking. Next, please. This is just the trees and plants that we will be planting. Next. This is the light layout. So at night where all the light will shine and won't go into any neighbors' properties. Next, please. This is the truck path. Again, all the parking will be on my property. It'll come right in, do deliveries once a week. The delivery hours are 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I got Dollar General to agree with that so it doesn't disturb any neighbors with noise or anything like that. Again, it'll be from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and all the deliveries will be on my property, not on any side roads or Memphis Avenue, nothing like that. Next, please. This shows the floor plan of the actual proposed building. It's 7,500 square feet. It's about 1,500 square feet bigger than the Dollar General, the DGX in downtown. And you can see two bike racks we have there for people who are coming by bike. So this is a rendering. This is not a typical Dollar General. It is a very upper scale looking Dollar General. So what we proposed here was a complete brick building with stone columns and modern windows with a modern canopy. And where the entrance is, we have a Dollar General sign that is no longer yellow. So it doesn't look as commercial. It looks more within the town. It gives it a more classier look. And the entrance, the darker brown there is actually a facade wood, which is different from any Dollar General in the country. It'll be a proposed, it's called longboard. It's a metal finish, but it makes it look. Next, please. Here's the other view. So the east elevation would be 56th Avenue, and then you can see the south elevation where the deliveries are with a closed dumpster pad. Next, please. So here's a rendering of what exactly what it will look like. Again, it's a very nice Dollar General. I personally believe it's one of the nicest in the country. You can see the brown wood finish there with all the brick and the stone columns. Next, please. Here's another view from Memphis Avenue. You can see all the windows in the proposed store. Very nice. This is just the facade layout, the Keller bricks we will be using. Then you can see the longboard metal siding there. And very pretty, actually. And then the stone, it will be behind the Dollar General letters. So again, we're going to have black letters with a stone background. And then the vinyl fence is a fence that I'll be putting up along the property line. So the neighbors behind me do not into the property, and that vinyl fence will last a very long time. Right now, there's a chain link fence that is in very poor, or a wood and a chain link fence in a very poor condition, and I will be replacing that and paying for all of it. Next, please. These are just some of the lights we'll be using. Next. So here's the interior. So it has a DGX vibe to it. We're going to have produce, and I believe Dollar General agreed to put produce in a lot of their other stores in Cleveland due to a lot of the we got from the city. I can read you a list of the produce if you want, but it's basically every produce that you can buy at a grocery store. Next, please. Again, it will have 33 coolers that are with perishable items. It'll have a self-serve area where you can get coffee to go, and you can get all products that Dollar General sells. Next, please.
That's all I have for your presentation.
Thanks.
Mitchell?
Yes.
This is Carol Johnson speaking. My concern is you need to keep the outside property clean.
I agree with that.
And people tend to be sloppy. They drop things, they throw things, they don't use, I don't care how many garbage cans you have out there. Even down here, downtown at the other, people throw their masks out. Enough is enough already, but you have to clean it up every day.
Yes, and what I spoke about last count that we were at, I proposed to them, this is on Dollar General's radar, this project, and they know that it has to be clean or the future of Dollar General, and because you got to keep a clean lot. And I give this my personal phone number because I've owned this property for a very long time, and I will give them my cell number. So and that they can't cleaned up or they send them a violation or something, that they can call me and I will get it cleaned up within 24 hours. If they're ever concerned, and that's a promise to me. They won't be applying for a beer or liquor license at the store anytime soon. In the
Madam Chair, we have Councilman Kelly.
Morning, Councilman. My tree man.
Good morning. Thank you for to sign off.
Kevin, you're breaking up.
Yeah, let me do it. Let me get closer to the. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Take my comment, and when I have to sign off, Old Brooklyn Community Development Corporation, Jeff Respi and Lucas Reeves can speak on my behalf. But as far as the legal standard that we're here to consider this case by, if we are looking at the decision of the Planning Commission, my question is, are they there just to check boxes and say it meets the zoning requirements, it's got proper setbacks, or do they have another role in determining the community, the planning and what fits a neighborhood and what doesn't? I don't disagree with anything that Mr. Coyne said. Everything that he said, he went through the process, and if this were another use, this would have been how I wish every project would approach the community. But this is a use that the community has pretty loudly spoken out against. And, for that reason, I guess my question then would be to the board, is the Planning Commission potted plants, or are they there to take feedback from the neighborhood, and are they there to offer an opinion on planning, community, the fabric of the community, and the desires of the community, and the direction of the community? So for that reason, I would support the decision of the Planning Commission, and I would just leave that question with the board.
Madam Chair, we have Shannon Leonard for the city, and then we have Director Collier after Shannon.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Shannon.
Good morning, Shannon Leonard, City Planning. So, Design Review and City Planning Commission, they wanted a building that was more urban building, like urban in design, that addressed the context of the street at that corner of West 56. They wanted to address the pedestrians and did not orient towards the parking lot, the entrance, and the character of the community. Though they do not need a variance in terms of the site plan, part of Design Review's charge is to promote dense, walkable neighborhoods, to promote the sustainability and equity within our communities, and facilitate healthy living per 341.01 of the zoning code. So a lot of the discussion was on the design and the context within the street at that planning commission, as well as on the use. And in terms of the use, the community did speak, as well as planning commission, on not wanting the use, as there are two other similar uses within less than a quarter mile and two more less than a mile, totaling 4 similar stores within less than a mile of the proposed location. A lot of this was a part of the equity, sustainability, and healthy living conversation. And as you can see here, what are Design Review districts for? Again, they want to promote dense, walkable, mixed-use neighborhoods, promote sustainability. So a lot of the conversation also was that this was more of a suburban Avon type Dollar General building. And what would this use be in the future should Dollar General not be there? And though the applicant has stated this will have a DGX vibe, at the end of the day, this is still a Dollar General, and there's so many within the current area. This gives way to the equity question within the neighborhood. Does the community really need another one of these types of stores? And equity, so while they'll have some produce and some, fresh vegetables, the majority of their products will be the same products that you see in the other 4 stores surrounding this current location. And that really goes to the conversation about, quality, corporate quality, and what the community has access to. This current map you can see here is based on where these types of stores, these discount variety type stores, Dollar General, Family Dollar, etc., are located in the community across the city of Cleveland. There is about 100 within the county of Cuyahoga, but there's with 60 to 67 currently existing stores here in the city of Cleveland proper. So this speaks to the bigger issue of what the community wants, what the community needs, equity and sustainability. In addition to Design Review and Planning Commission found that this building, the way that it was built, was not in the context of Memphis Avenue or urban streets. So again, we're here to find out whether Planning Commission was arbitrary and capricious. I believe that this was thoroughly vetted within Planning Commission on multiple meetings. And I do not believe that they were arbitrary and capricious from the city planning staff.
Thank you, Shannon. And the director is with us this morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Board. Well, it's hard for me to follow that. I think Shannon, much of what we have established here. I do want to go on record, and I've said this every time we've had this case. This is not an indictment. This is really about.
Were you sworn in?
Yes, he was.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I do want to emphasize, though, the point of the matter here about being arbitrary and capricious. This case, obviously, as you can see from the mapping and all the other analysis, was done with a level of rigor by staff and others. So the Planning Commission, in its multiple iterations of conversation, were not arbitrary and capricious because of the level of analysis and input that was put into this particular case. These are very important components, and I want to just emphasize the fact that the use case, it does matter. The items that Shannon mentioned, if you look at the City of Cleveland's Charter 76.2, which really outlines the Planning Commission and its role, this is something that is beyond just design. It has to do with how land is utilized. And even though it checks the code box, factors that we have to often consider. And I'm not preaching to my friend Tony Coyne because he's the long-standing track record as a citizen and as a former chair of the Planning Commission. But, this is something that, we as a commission and community, are standing on with respect to this particular case. So I just wanted to add that commentary. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director. Is there anybody else sworn in, Maurice?
Not from the city. There are, Jeff from Old Brooklyn Development Corporation.
That's it.
Mr. Coyne also has his hand raised.
Okay, well, let's do Jeff first, and then we'll do Tony.
Yeah, certainly. Just following up from Councilman Kelly and the city planning staff, the community's response, I think, and Director Collier said it best, is that this has been very comprehensive. It's been very intentional. It's been inclusive, exhaustive, and the community's response to lift up and encourage the Planning Commission to think bigger and broader towards the future was encouraged, and so we support the Planning Commission's decision.
Thank you very much. Tony?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to respond to a few comments that my esteemed colleagues, Ms. Leonard and Mr. Collier, stated. And I want to go back because I really don't like being here as it relates to asking the BZA to overturn a decision of the Cleveland Planning Commission. But procedurally, we have to be here. We have to exhaust our administrative remedies if we're going to take legal action. And I hate to do that, but if we have to do it, we have to do it. But I do need to respond to a few comments. First of all, planning doesn't accommodate getting in the middle of competition. And that's an issue here. There are some 60 retail stores in the city of Cleveland. Dollar General has 15. The Dollar General serves a neighborhood population. You don't put up bike racks for people that are going to come there from 5 miles away. And we believe Dollar General is far superior to its competitors in every way. In fact, during the pandemic, Dollar General was identified as one of the businesses that provided needed services and product to communities all over the country. But I'm not here for Dollar General per se. I'm here in part for MSP, who've expended nearly $100,000 doing due diligence to develop this property. And I can't ignore that. It will be walkable. The design should be less urban because it's in a neighborhood. It isn't in downtown Cleveland. It should be reflective and sensitive to the residential street that is 56th Street. I think that's really important. And planning for failure is never a good idea. And this is a good example of that. When Ms. Leonard cites to section 341.01 for concerning design review and the regulations that are there under, they're very clear. There are about 5: to protect property values, to promote economic activity and increase municipal revenues, to enhance the visual image of Cleveland and its neighborhoods, to preserve the community's architectural assets, to protect the environment and facilitate healthy living. They will have fresh produce. They will have flash frozen vegetables. They will have other products that people need. And it is designed so that it's accommodating to the immediate community. That's very important. And I think that the Planning Commission bowed to some neighbors, some people that just don't want it because they just don't want it. I would be foolish to not talk about the recent legislation that's been looked at for regulating Dollar Generals or Family Dollar or Dollar Tree or any business apparently has dollar in the name that's less than 15,000 square feet. The fact of the matter is the city already has regulations. And to Madam Chair's comment, you're absolutely right. If a business doesn't pick up its garbage and if it becomes unsightly or there are any health or safety issues, the city should cite them, they should fine them, and they should regulate them in accordance with their existing regulations. If they want to heighten those and have additional restrictions or regulations because people don't take care of their property, then I think the city should certainly look into that. But when you look at the fact that this is a city in dire need of investment, and the fact is you've got a major company willing to work with a developer who is going to present something that's certainly acceptable given the architecture surrounding it. I mean, seriously, Dina's Pizza, McDonald's, Taco Bell, other businesses, Dairy Queen, and you're not going to allow a business to come in for reasons that have to do with conjecture, speculation. It's not based on evidence. Planning and zoning is important. The zoning code matters because the zoning code on this property allows this business. It went through a vetted proceeding with the Planning Commission and the City Council years ago when 2020 plan was developed, when the land use plan was developed, and the current zoning, the current planning for this part of Memphis Avenue accommodates this use. If you ignore that, then anything can happen. Because the community doesn't like it now or people have changed their mind, that's not good planning or zoning. You have to look at the project, and it's not just checking the boxes, it's going to design review committees and engaging and discussing how it's going to look. It's going to the Planning Commission and discussing the physical design of the building. Not necessarily what's inside, but even then, what's inside has been discussed. I respectfully asked the Board of Zoning Appeals to overturn the Planning Commission on this particular project because I think it's the right thing to do. How are you going to attract investment in the city if it's arbitrary and capricious based on how people feel as opposed to what the code says and the way the code is applied? It's all we can do to develop and attract investment in the city. I think this is an example of how a developer, MSP and Mitch Papin, I think have worked pretty well with the city. It's going to be, I think, a very nice Dollar General store. And Dollar General certainly is willing to participate in other meetings related to the maintenance of the property going forward. But Mr. Papin has also indicated that he intends to do that as well. So I come back to a couple of things too. I don't know, issue 68 was a big deal. I'm glad it passed. This property has been undeveloped for over a dozen years. It pays a marginal amount of property taxes to our schools. Once developed, it will pay substantially more, over $60,000 annually. You cannot ignore those issues. Those are facts that are there. The fact that there's some competition nearby is just the way it goes. So I would really, again, request that the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I say this very respectfully, overturn the decision of the Planning Commission because the use of terms like equity fall on deaf ears when you're providing a service that's better than the competition in a facility that's better than the competition in a location that's lawfully a permitted use. So I really feel it's important to have this service added to the Old Brooklyn community and would request that the BZA overturn the decision of the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Would anybody else that had not had a chance to speak? Ornan? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, before we go to the motion, I mean, I think we need to, we owe this developer and we owe the city of Cleveland, I think, some thinking about how we might want to vote on this. You know, it's hard to listen to the journey that this particular project has taken and not sit back and wonder, you know, was it already a preordained decision early on in the process? I mean, if the decision is we have enough dollar stores, thank you, and we're not going to cite anymore, so be it. That's the decision. That gives at least somebody like a developer a clear guidance in terms of how he wants to spend his money. But if you take him through a process that reviews plans over and over and over and over again and have public meetings and everything else, no one even said what the result of the public meeting was. Was that a lynch mob there that said, hey, we don't want this? Is that it? And does it take that long to get to the public meeting that decision-making process is kind of works against the developer? There's some really critical questions here. I think, you know, on both sides of the aisle, if you will. It's hard to put on a sustainability and health and wellness hat and look at the conglomerate of options on Memphis Avenue and come away that this is a healthy choice. I don't think so. I don't know if the other dollar stores have frozen goods and fresh vegetables Maybe somebody went out there and actually validated that. I'm not sure, but it's something that should be taken into consideration if you're trying to argue that it isn't going to help fulfill that need. So those are some of the things that are running through my mind anyway. And the fact that he doesn't have any variances that he's not meeting. I mean, that is part of the process here. Does the project itself need help? Usually when you're at our table, you're not talking arbitrary capricious, you're talking about putting up some kind of the zoning requirements so that you can have a project.
Madam Chair, we have Ms. Leonard.
Go ahead.
Shannon Leonard, City Planning. Just a couple points before you all vote. The first issue here is whether Planning Commission was arbitrary and capricious. That's the main issue, whether this was thoughtfully went through the process and whether Planning Commission, just did not weigh all the issues here. And one of the biggest issues is the design and how this meets the context and character of Memphis. I live near Memphis. People walk up and down, even though Memphis is a road, people walk up and down Memphis every day. Hundreds of people walk up and down. There's a bus route, etc. One of the biggest issues with Design Review and Planning Commission was how does this meet the corner context, West 56th Street and Memphis? As you can see, the entrance is oriented towards the parking lot. It's auto-centric. It does not meet, the character of that street in terms of pedestrian friendly. Understandable, you have to have ADA parking. I understand that. There could have been two entrances, whatever have you. Also, walking down West 56 becomes a little bit in terms of unsafe, and that spandrel glass is unsee-through. So you have this large brick wall that pedestrians have to walk down to get to their home. And equity is an issue. Understandably, they don't need any site variances, but they did need to go to design review. That is part of 341.01. And the City Planning Commission did have to weigh in, not just on the site and the design of the building and structure itself, but also the context of the street, as well as how the community felt in terms of equity, in terms of healthy living, et cetera. And though, they are saying that they will have produce, they will have some bananas and lettuce and tomatoes, how long, Planning Commission brought up the argument, well, how long does that last? How long into the future will that go on when they decide, okay, the bananas aren't selling, let's just move this to other frozen items or other chips and et cetera. And so although we don't necessarily have a say in what they put in their store, the point of the matter is of what their stores are known for and how the city already has so many of those in the area and in the greater city included. The other issue here is, the developer is spending quite a bit of money just to put a Dollar General here. Why couldn't he put any other store here? Why couldn't he put another small grocery store, a full service grocery store at this location? And so there's plenty of those arguments to be made too. The last thing I would also ask that is, if you were to approve this or to overturn the Planning Commission's decision, another big contentious point was liquor permits. And so although they stated in one Planning Commission meeting that they would not be seeking a liquor permit at this time, down the road, they would be seeking a liquor permit. And I know that the city has, and the councilman was really concerned about the liquor permit at this location. But again, this location could be used for so many other uses where there's not so many of these uses that the community would like to see. So I again ask that you find that City Planning Commission is not arbitrary and capricious, as this was a very well-rounded, many meetings went into discussing this case in terms of use, equity, design, etc. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we have Mr. Coyne with his hand raised.
Yes, Madam Chair, just a comment. Let's get something straight. So it wasn't like the lynch mob that I have seen in community meetings. At the last meeting, there were about 9 participants that had concerns about this. The design issues were actually appreciated by many. And if it's conditions of approval, we could have those discussions. If you want to indicate in a motion to modify the Planning Commission decision about produce, then maybe include that. The liquor permit issue is a little bit tricky because that's up to the state of Ohio, but there's been a clear expression by the applicant that they're not seeking a beer and wine permit for the site. In fact, it's currently not designed to accommodate that. And again, this is bringing jobs to the neighborhood. It's bringing sales tax revenue that's going to be generated. Nothing has happened on this property for over a dozen years. So realistically, this is something that we believe was addressed through the design suggestions. And you come back and it's never good enough. It ends up being a pretext to turn it down, looking for any reason to turn it down. And that is what I believe happened because of concerns. And I know there are other issues with other dollar stores apparently in the city, but I believe that we're trying to avoid that and present what would be an excellent project for this community, for the city of Cleveland. Mr. Pappin's done an excellent job with the design and the layout. Vocon's a very good firm. And the fact of the matter is, this would more than fit into that neighborhood and fit into Memphis Avenue. And we would, again, respectfully request if the Board of Zoning Appeals wants to put conditions that you still have to sell produce, then put those on. Or if you want to put conditions about the entry, by the way, the entryway can be seen from Memphis. Admittedly, it's on the side, but it certainly isn't an auto-oriented behind the store on the parking field. So I really believe that they've done an excellent job, and this would be very well received once it's built in this community. I can guarantee you that it would be very well received by those people who need these types of businesses, and they provide affordable product to the community. And I must say one other thing. They're not designed to compete with Giant Eagle. That's not what Dollar General does. The neighborhood I grew up in, Collinwood, we had 7-Elevens and Lawson stores and convenience stores. There were probably a dozen from where I grew up. You walked to them depending on the neighborhood. That was a different time. Things have changed, and this is a good use for the site. And so I'm asking the chair, if you want to put conditions to answer Mr. Donovan's questions, put some conditions on your approval. I think we'd be receptive to that as long as we know what they are.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Madam Chair, now we have Jeff from Old Brooklyn.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just regarding the comment earlier about the lynch mob, and then Mr. Coyne's comment, I appreciate that he recognized that we handled the community meetings in a very respectful way of the developer, and brought MSP in to introduce the project, a brief Q&A, and then kind of have a nice dialogue as a group. There were more than 9 participants, but Tony, I don't think we need to squabble over that number. Real quick, I think the idea of a conditional kind of variance was brought up in the community meetings, and there was grave concern over the ability to execute that, on what that means, on are we talking the quality of the produce, the number of stands, the longevity of it, who's going to be the one going in there, especially considering it to the last point that Mr. Coyne made regarding bringing service that the community desperately needs, that immediately across the street from this facility is a Save-A-Lot, a Discount Drug Mart, and another dollar store.
Can I ask a question about some of those existing stores you just mentioned? Did they go through this kind of process as well then? They had a design review, they had public meetings, et cetera. These issues had to be challenged and overcome in terms of them getting their approvals to build the stores and run them that they're out there right now. Did that happen?
Through the chair to Mr. Donovan, I can't say because all 3 of those stores are in shopping plazas that were built in the 50s.
Dollar Bank wasn't that one around in the 50s, so.
Well, they're not. Dollar General is not across the street from Drug Mart, because Drug Mart's on Bridge Road, isn't it? Or Fulton, or whatever the Parkway is.
It's a very short walk between Fulton, the Discount Drug Mart on Fulton Parkway to this location.
Then where is Save-A-Lot? Is it in that strip mall across the street?
Save-A-Lot's right across the street from the Discount Drug Mart.
Okay, thank you.
Can I, for a second, please, Madam Chair?
Who is that, please?
Director Copper.
Okay, yes, Director.
Yes. You know, I want to make sure that we don't get in a situation where it's about, our, review of past cases on other stores in the street. I do want to mention that this process, since I've been here for the last 20 years, has been the same for every case. And obviously, there are concerns that some cases bring, okay, because we look at each case individually. This particular dollar store scenario in this particular neighborhood at this particular time on this particular block was obviously problematic for a myriad of reasons. Zoning and design are two of a number of different concerns that at the Planning Commission have to absorb and hear and listen to. And given the nature and concern, the scale of which the concern was, we had to be rigorous with respect to the review of this. And I think the conclusion that was drawn as a result of all of that conversation, analysis, and everything that you saw here was the posture that the Planning Commission ended up having about this case. Now, when there's an issue with there's the corporate side of the house saying that you're being biased. When there is a posture taken with the developer or whatever the case may be, there's the other side saying you're being biased. So we can't win for losing. So you know what we do? We make a determination based on the facts and based on the evidence in front of us, and we stick to that. And part of what we're saying today to the board and to everyone, that we have made a conclusion at the Planning Commission, and that is what our posture is. And whatever determination that the board has to make, obviously you're going to make that. But I just want to be clear that this is about process, looking at each case on its own merits. And yes, some cases are more sensitive than others. There are things that the community have a problem with that a developer does, and vice versa. But I'm annoyed of being tossed around like a washing machine verbally, because we take a clear position, and it may not align all the time with the interests that may be advocating at the table. So I just want to just be clear, about the whole process thing, because, our process, again, is clear, it's diplomatic, and we have to consider a great deal. And we try to walk that line very strictly. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Are there any other comments, board? I will entertain a motion.
If no one wants to give a motion, I'll give a motion so we can have a vote.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, the motion would have to be that upon listening to the arguments pro and against the decision that was made by city planning, we find that the city was not arbitrary or capricious in its methods and in its examination of this issue, and the conclusion they came up with, that being one of denial.
Do I have a second?
Bernie, second it.
Thank you. Call the roll.
Ms. Faith. Ms. Faith?
Yes, I'm here. I'm going to vote yes on this.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Barnes? Ms. Barnes? Ms. Barnes, yes. Thank you. Mr. Donovan?
Thank you, Ms. Barnes, but I'll vote for myself. I am going to vote no, and I'm going to base it not on the arbitrary or capricious part, even though I gave the motion. But I don't think it was substantiated by the facts of the matter.
Okay, and Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Calendar 20-163 is denied. The decision of the City Planning Commission is upheld. Ratify this case next week and send you a letter.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-165 at 3989 Lee Road. International Graphics owner and Michael Moore, leasee, proposed to change the use from retail store to gaming video lounge in a local retail zoning district and an urban form overlay district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Tim.
Will everyone for this case raise your right hand? I'm going to give a statement. Your response is I do with your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
I do.
Mark Melvin.
James Quincy.
Anyone else?
Michael
Joe Jones.
Janet Williams.
Michael Moore. I do.
Jana
Okay.
Crosby. I do.
Okay, anyone else?
Jana Crosby.
Okay, we got you. I think we got them all.
Okay, thank you very much. History of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This property was originally zoned general retail in 1929. In 2007, it was changed to local retail and placed in a design review district. In the records room, I found that the address of this property includes 3985 through 3989. It's all in one building. The records room indicate that in 1952, a permit was issued to erect a used car lot office. And in 1953, a permit was issued to erect a retail roof sign. There are no variances on file for this address. And in 2008, in the Acela system, I found that a permit was issued to install approximately 91 feet of chain link fence. And that's all that I have.
Well, that's yielding to the law department. Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting a use variance. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance. Will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Is the owner, International Graphics, with us? I know the appellant is here, Michael Moore.
He's here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, do we have a letter that says that he could represent the owner?
The owner's here.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Okay, tell us exactly what Michael Moore would like to do.
To have a game room that has will entertain children and adults who want to act like children playing games. To take them off of the street rather than them loitering around the property and on Lee Road.
Okay. Mr. Moore?
I'm here.
Yes, okay. I need to know what kind of games, since I don't ever been in one of these places.
I'm actually, this is Michael Moore speaking. I'm actually in the facility. It's basically console gaming, PlayStations, Xboxes, Nintendo Switches, things that you would buy for your kids or adults during Christmas, video gaming. The use of the business, which is there's only 3 of these in the state right now that I've researched, which are all in Parma. People they come here, they play the video game, they use the internet here is the biggest thing. We have a PlayStation game, we have 5 Xbox consoles. We have 5 Xbox consoles, 5 PlayStations, and 2 Nintendo Switches and 1 Nintendo Wii.
So that you come in, both kids and adults come in and they just get a chance to play online. Like it takes them from the streets or from home. You know, some people want to play with their friends, but they don't want to bunch up at home. So here in this facility, which I was able to just bring the game systems here. I'm not sure if this is okay, but there's video game systems on the wall, and you're allowed to just actually sit down and play online. There's not there. I don't understand where the denial came from. They were talking about the different zoning. We also serve coffee, so when parents come, that's where the cafe come from. We serve coffee and refreshments. So it's basically simple. I don't understand like what we didn't do right or what zoning we had to meet.
Well, what hours and days of the week are you going to be open?
Well, it's Monday through Saturday, and we'll open up early just for people that want to stop in and grab coffee. But gaming for the kids on the weekend will be a little earlier, and then at night we'll probably close around like 9 or 10 o'clock.
But what time would you open officially?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, ma'am.
9 o'clock at night?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you closed on Sundays?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Marka Fields, I see you on the screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were just trying to get, I guess, clarification on what he was doing, because I think there was some confusion about whether gambling would take place at the facility. And so that was one of the questions. I don't think there was necessarily any objection to having video games and coffee. It was just, I think the word internet cafe kind of got people concerned about exactly what would be taking place there. And so I did get an email from the applicant just over the weekend saying that was that he was that it was mainly going to be just video games and a cafe. And I know the councilman is on, as well as some of the other community members who probably say. So I'll leave it to them.
I see that Mr. Moore has his hand up. Mr. Moore?
Yes. I just wanted to go on record, and that was what I kind of thought that they thought that would be when they started speaking on the zoning for between how close we were to a daycare or what's called it. But we're not applying for any licenses for alcohol or any gambling. This is strictly a place where you can games, where you can come and have your child's party, adult parties who like the video game as myself. I'm 34 years old and I'm a professional boxer, but on my free time, I play Xbox, I play Call of Duty. The same thing that you would buy your grandson or your kids. That is what I do. I also have someone who inquired about putting in a streaming station, which brings in revenue, and he can show kids how to build revenue for playing their video games. But as a right, they have to get open in order for me to do that. So there will be no drink and no applying for alcohol license or no gambling. So if that's what you're concerned about, you have my word that there will be no gambling, and your child's safety and your safety here are my number one priority.
What age are the children allowed in?
At all ages. I started playing the video game at 3 years old, and
well, are they coming in without a parent?
No. Parents. We're trying to get that set up now to where there's certain ages that you have to bring for parents to come. There's not going to be just like you drop your child off service, But of course, they're like 14 years old, 15 years old. They're able to travel alone, so it's a lot more easier for them to come and enjoy games without a parent than it will be for a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old. But I look to have parties for 5-year-old and 6-year-old kids because there's gaming for them too, but they will have to be accompanied by an adult.
Okay. Who else besides the councilman have been sworn in, Maurice?
We have Pastor Quincy, I believe, was sworn in.
Okay. Pastor?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, everyone. Yes, of course, we, again, as Marcus said, we did not have details about what was going on in the facility. I do have some questions about how it will operate for children, but that's some of those conversations Michael we could actually discuss. One of the things you asked is, what did you do wrong? And engaging those around you would have helped, because we could have really been on your side. We do a lot for children and a lot of work for trying to make our community safe, but we've been working very hard over the past few years trying to make this community, build this community up, make it stronger. And so the Game Time Cafe, without knowing the specifics, it makes it very difficult for us to support what you're trying to do if we don't know what it is you're trying to do. So I would definitely like to look at that a little bit more. I would be a little concerned. We are next door to a high school. So I would be really a little concerned about the hours and how to police that in terms of being next to a high school as having gaming options in that facility. So that's something that you might want to look at and consider. But as long as there's no alcohol use, as long as there's no gambling and whatnot and all of those things, it sounds like it could be something that's beneficial. And I would definitely look forward to communicating with you more on what it is you're planning to do there.
Madam Chair, I think Tanya Dumas wants to speak.
Yes, I am Tanya Dumas. I am the principal of the said high school, Invictus High School, that is directly adjacent to on the other side of the lot of the facility. So some of my primary concerns would be, first of all, overall, your hours of operation, and I don't want that to be a deterrent or a draw for our students to not be in school. And it sounds like your hours are open during the day. And some of my students, quite frankly, we serve a population of students that are from 16 to 21. So it's kind of that young adult, teenage and young adult population. And I would definitely not want it to be a deterrent for them being in school. So that hours of operation and also the management of students. We know it sounds like a very positive, productive activity for our community. However, my concern is that also this is a community that we have to be real clear on how we're going to manage, because as large groups of teens as I have to deal with at the high school, we have to have a plan in managing those students and situations as they congregate when they're not necessarily on being positive and productive. So I would wanted to hear a plan about what is that and how do you manage the high school students?
Thank you, Ms. Dumas. Mr. Moore?
Yes, that was actually something that I wanted to speak with her with. I was getting to that point, knowing that the parking around this area was kind of shaky, and I didn't want my people to park directly into her parking lot without that being without permission or anything like that. So I wanted to speak with her personally. I'm glad I finally get a chance to meet you. But that I wanted to make sure that you know that Game Time we run a very extensive internet. So we're going to have a session set up, not a session, but timing for people that during school hours. Right now, we're not in school. ODJFS has a program right now where they're taking different places with internet access and everything and setting up programs for their kids to do virtual learning. So with that being said, Game Time Cafe wanted this place to be one of those places. But we're very strong on school. I graduated high school within 3 years. My wife's a college graduate. My son, he's graduating school from early learning. From virtual, but he goes to what school did he go to? Bard Elementary. Bard Early College. So he'll graduate with a degree. So we're very strong on making sure the kids go to school, and I'm willing to work with you however possible to make sure that your students are in school getting their education. But then I want this to be a place where they can come, because a lot of kids don't have internet at home, so they may need some internet to come study. And I wanted to work with the community. I wanted to speak with the councilman. When I let the councilman know that I was opening this, he sounded very positive about it. So this won't be a place that this here. I look for this place here to benefit the community more than it hurts it. So if anyone on here has a problem with Game Time Cafe or they don't know what it is, I'm just speaking on right now. We can work together and get these kids a place they can go to, a
Madam
safe
Chair.
haven.
Madam Chair, we have Director Collier with his hand raised.
Madam Chair.
Good morning, Director, again.
Yes. Before
Can
Freddie
you hear
gets
me
on.
okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Before Freddie gets on, can you hear me?
Yes, Tim.
It sounds to me, given the testimony of the last 5 or 6 people, that this is a case that's going to benefit by postponement and giving the applicant here the ability to go have these meetings and maybe even invite those folks to the facility that's itself, so they'll get a feeling for it. So, you know, we can have those meetings right now and then have them again, or we could say to ourselves, hey, we ought to put a little time out here and let them all get together and then come back, and it'll probably be a stronger show of community support when he comes back.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm in agreement with Mr. Donovan's suggestion. He beat me to it, but that would be my suggestion as well. I think in concept, it sounds like it's a great idea, but I would like to see a more polished presentation with definite times, definite plans for how he's going to serve the minor population. Having 3-year-olds, there needs to be supervision, particularly when mixed with population of older teens. So I think there's a need to have things worked out, and it sounds like between the pastor and the principal,
Yes.
there's a wealth of expertise that he could draw upon to pull this situation together.
Madam Chair, we also have Councilman Jones. I don't know if he wanted to speak up on this.
Yes, I do.
Yes. Councilman?
Madam Chairwoman, to the distinguished board, thank you for having this session this morning. Well, there are a couple of issues that came in concern after talking to the community leaders of the neighborhood. I've talked to 2 pastors and the head of the Lee Harvard Association and also the head of Community Organized for Mutual Progress, in addition to the executive director of the Lee Harvard Service Center. I've had an opportunity briefly. It was an accident at Eldermere and Lee Road where I talked to Mr. Moore at that time on a passing whim, and he shared with me the prospects of putting something there to gather young people as it relates to video games. And that was just to the depth of it. There was no further calls into our office concerning it. And so when this particular piece arrived on the desk, something that needs to be it needs to be put in place, is that we're asking for an ordinance variance. And the kind of ordinance that is actually legally being asked for is a gaming ability at that location for lottery and gambling. So I've talked to Marco Fields concerning this, and I've even talked to Liz Krukla concerning it as it relates to what does that mean? Is there another way that we could do this without changing the zoning there? Because once that zoning is changed, it's changed, and we will have an issue with it in our community. This was an issue that went back all the way back to 1997 when Matt Dolan was the council member in Ward 21, which is now Ward 17, and there was the argument about video gambling in his community. And that issue went all the way up to the state, where the state eventually passed a moratorium on the issue. And that was, I want to say it was in it's either 2012 or 2013. It was 2013. It was House Bill 7, 2013, regulating and trying to identify these zones and what the state feels about this issue. So the city of Cleveland followed suit a year later with ordinance number 801-13 to extend a moratorium on the review and issuance of zoning permits, certificates of occupancy, and other licenses or permit applications for internet sweepstakes operation.
Oh, you cut out.
is that the problem. I'm sorry. The problem with this is that we're asking to change the zoning to sweepstakes gambling. And so there is a clear issue here where our community, that's the reason why the churches are involved and the schools are involved and that kind of thing. So I'm very leery. I'd rather err on the side of caution. If we could find some other kind of way to put this in place without changing the zoning variance, I'm for that. But if we're talking about this zoning change here being made, our community is galvanized against it. Now, I know that Mr. Moore is, his heart is in the right place, but the zoning that's being asked for this particular location, our community is opposed to, and we don't want to open up Pandora's box at this location. And when Mr. Moore is gone, if something happens or he expands his business, that is still zoned for that.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Were you finished, Councilman? I'm sorry.
That's our turn. That
Now we're going to Director Collier.
everybody and their mom is trying to call me, so please forgive me. That is our legal argument on the issue. But what and how Mr. Moore has stated where he stands at on these issues in terms of helping young folks, as you've heard the pastor state, that he's for it. We need to sit down with Mr. Moore, and I think that if we could work with the board and whomever else, the planning, and find another way we can do this, I could be of support, and our community could be of support.
Thank you, Council. Director Collier,
Thank you.
thanks for waiting.
Yes, I'll be brief. And the only reason why I'm speaking up, I wasn't here for this case, but I was intrigued as I heard this conversation. One, you're in a really good place to really work together. You know, Pastor Quincy.
Freddie, have you been signed in for this case?
This morning, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Can we have the language for the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
1 sec.
All right. Here you go, Fred. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes. Just real brief. I just want to say, you know, Pastor Quincy, the principal of the high school, and Mr. Moore, hats off, and because your heart is definitely in the right place. And I think there's an opportunity here to innovate. And I think sometimes you have to speed up. And I think it may make sense, you know, to the councilman point and the board member's point, for you all to sit down and strategize, because you can do something collaboratively here. Councilman's concerns, Mr. Moore, are legit. And I know this may be the first time going through the process, but you seem to have not only the right heart, but this community and these community members, they want to support you, obviously, but want to do it the right way. So I just want to say that I'm intrigued, and I think you should definitely work with the principal because the concerns are legitimate. You know, helping our kids in this day and time could be rather challenging, to say the least. But again, you working together with the pastor, with the school, and what you're trying to do to come up with the right formula, I think can be really productive and maybe serve as a model for other things that we can do in the city. So I want to encourage you, man, to work with them and to continue to seek, you know, what it is that you're trying to do, but just do it in a way where, you know, the community can work with you and that you guys could get the best sort of outcome for this. And I don't mean to sound preachy or anything like that. Forgive me. I just want to just let you know to be encouraged. And I think, you know, working together to figure this out with the schools and the church, you really special, man.
Well, I think we all concur with you, Director. And Tim, I think, had made a motion, or he was asking Mr. Moore if he would like to postpone to have this meeting.
Madam Chair, we had Ms. Coggins has typed a few things in the chat. I'm not sure if she wanted to speak.
Patsy Coggins? Ms. Coggins, are you with us?
You're
Going
muted,
once.
ma'am.
Well, Mr. Moore, I'm going to put this in your lap. The suggestion is strongly that maybe you have a meeting in the facility with both the pastors and the principal of the school and some, the councilman in your place, and sit down and iron out what you need to do. Is that something you would concur with?
I'm more than willing to do that because.
Okay.
You
So
know,
then we're going to schedule, how about a meeting in December? Would you give you enough time? I know there's Thanksgiving and I don't know if people are doing anything this year, but.
Honestly, I've see what I've been trying to get them to incur. I didn't know I didn't know that my appeal was me appealing them to change the ordinance to where where they thought this would be gambling. I never knew that. Never knew that. I've had this place since June. You get what I'm saying? So since July, I've been paying the rent here, and what I'm trying to do is actually get this place operational. I'm more than willing to sit down with to everyone around. I want them to come here, come to game time, even get to enjoy what we get to do. So is there any sooner date like I can sit down with these?
Mrs.
Sooner the
Cooper?
better.
You need a month to get that done.
Yeah, because you got a holiday in there and nobody's going to be doing anything.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, November 30th is full. So November 30th is full, and the next date would be December 7th.
Okay.
Right.
So that's approximately a month. Madam Chair, while I have the floor, I wanted to just clarify for councilman and for any discussion that's going to take place after this. We do have the ability to put conditions and limit the uses that go on in there. So we can put language in there that will ultimately be placed on the certificate of occupancy that strictly states there would be no gambling, no alcohol, those type of things. So we do have the authority to grant this variance with some conditions that restrict it. I was hoping that maybe that would help the councilman in his discussions at the community meeting.
Thank you. If I could speak, Madam Chairwoman.
Yes.
Thank you, because that was the next question, was getting a legal opinion. And so since we can do that here, that works out well for us. And I think that the community appreciates that capacity and ability of the board to be able to do that.
And I think we're going to postpone this on the direction of the owner. The earliest could be December 7th. It's called Pearl Harbor.
Have no unreadiness, Madam Chairwoman. This is Councilman Jones.
Okay.
Who's going to lead it?
I'll call the meeting myself.
Okay, that'll be great.
Okay.
Thanks, Councilman. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Moore, we'll see you on December the 7th, but Councilman Jones will be in contact with you to schedule it, okay?
Thank you very much.
You want to have your meetings ahead of that December 7th meeting.
Yeah, yes,
That's
right.
correct.
And you want to work out everything, how it's going to run. Who knows? Maybe the principal can bring some students, so give you their reaction to what you're doing.
And
Okay, great.
what I'll do
Thank
is
you
so
all.
that
Thank
everybody's
you. Thank
listening,
you. Thank you, Ms. Dumas.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, Pastor. Okay. All right, calendar 20-175 at 17828 Marcella Road.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-175 at 17828 Marcella Road. Shaney Frazier, owner, proposes to erect a 2-story single-family residence with 2-bay attached garage in an A1 one-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much.
Everyone for this case, kindly raise your right hand. I'll read the swearing in testimony. You respond with the words "I do" in your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Renee Frazier.
Okay.
Tyrone Frazier. Okay.
Anybody else?
I do, Sharonda Watley.
Okay, Sharonda, thank you.
And look like Adrian also.
I already said it here, but that's right.
Okay, sorry I missed that.
Last call. Anybody else? Last call.
Okay, history of the property, please, Mrs. Cooper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In the records room, I found a permit was issued in 1977 to erect a church and hard surface parking lot at this location. But Madam Chair, the most pertinent information is that you reviewed this case, a similar case earlier this year in calendar 20-68. The variance issues are identical. The code sections are identical. The appellant at the time withdrew the appeal as there was some concern by city planning about the location of the garage. And in fact, that case did not get approval from design review due to the location of the garage. So it is my understanding that now they have, or in fact, I do know because I've seen the site plan, that they have worked out an alternate design, and we'll let the applicant explain that.
Madam Chair, just one, I believe Merlene has left the meeting. So we are down, we still have a quorum though, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So you'll need a unanimous decision at this point?
Okay.
Ms. Wagner, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, the legal standard will be judging the case on, please, Ms. Wagner.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the garage placement and screening regulations of the zoning code. To obtain area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Ms. Frazier.
Yes.
Maurice, do you have a slide to put up?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. Trying to do two things at once.
Oh, well. Okay.
So, Madam Chair, if you recall,
I do recall now.
Yeah,
Yes.
the garage was facing this street. I have to say, the Fraziers have been wonderful to work with. We got our in-staff architect to help design to change the garage orientation so that it's now towards the side of the property. We 110% support this variance at this point.
Madam Chair, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay.
It was a grueling meeting that they had to go through. And is your father here?
Yes, he's
Yes, he
here.
is right there.
If for nothing other than his sake, let me make the motion that, given the update that the appellant has worked with city planning, and the appellant have come up with a plan that erases the issues of the front-loaded garage, and therefore it would be almost criminal to stand in the way of such a great project. I move that we grant the variance.
I second that. Call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Bank?
It's a much improved plan, and I vote yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yep.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 20-175 is granted. It'll be ratified next week, and we will send you a letter.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And again, I want to thank the Fraziers for their patience and working with us. We really came out with a much better outcome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
I want to thank city planning for the work they did.
Calendar 20-145, it's 1571 East 32nd. Go ahead, Ms. Faith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-145 at 1571 East 32nd Street. Cuyahoga County Land Bank owner proposes to build an 8-car parking lot in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Stop. Thank you.
Everyone for this case, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do Marcia Sachs.
I do Bob Garrity.
I
do Kim Scott, planner.
Okay.
Anyone else? Last call. All right. Moving on out.
Okay, the legal standard will be judging the case on, please, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting area variances from the off-street parking and screening requirements of the zoning code, as well as permission to construct a parking lot in a residential district. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. Subsection 34913C provides that the board may permit temporarily or permanently the use of land in a residential district for a parking lot when the best interest of the community will be served, and provided that the lot is to be used only for the parking of passenger automobiles of employees, customers, or guests of the person or firm controlling and operating the lot, who shall be responsible for its maintenance. No charge is to be made for parking on the lot. The lot is not to be used for sales, repair work, or servicing of any kind. Entrance to and exit from the lot are to be located so as to do the least harm to the residence district. No advertising sign or material is to be located on the lot. All parking is to be kept back of the setback building line by barrier unless specifically authorized otherwise by the board. Parking lot and that portion of the driveway back of the building line are to be adequately screened from the street and from adjoining properties in a residence district by a hedge, sightly fence, or wall not less than 4 feet 6 inches high and not more than 5 feet high, located back of the setback building line. All lighting is to be arranged so that there be no glare that is annoying to the occupants of adjoining property in a residence district, and the surface of the parking lot is to be smoothly graded, hard surface, and adequately drained, and the building permit number on which the lot is to be established is to be posted. The board may impose such other and further conditions as it may deem necessary to reduce the adverse effect of the proximity of a parking lot upon the character, development, and maintenance of the residence district.
Thank you very much. To the appellants, have you had a chance to meet with the Planning Commission?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, tell us exactly what we're going to do now.
So we talked to Kim Scott, and we will build, the main thing was the drainage. So we're going to have a retention, detention cistern built in the center of the lot. So the water drains to the center and will be held there and slowly released into the city sewer with a 6 to 8 inch pipe. And then we will also build the fence, and we will also have landscaping to block view of the cars, and we will have the car bumpers. And we also moved this first parking spot. We eliminated the first one next to the street and moved it back towards the back so that we could put the landscaping in. And so we will fully comply with 349.13C. We have letters of support from St. Clair Superior CDC and Midtown CDC. And I believe that's it.
Well, you certainly did everything that we all wanted, that's for sure.
We tried.
Question, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, this is Liz. The drawings don't indicate what type of fence we're proposing here. Are any parts solid? Are they ornamental? What are we talking about there?
Either a wooden or a vinyl fence. Obviously, when we pull permits, we'll work closely with planning.
Okay. I see we have a letter from Millie Gonzalez.
Is she on? Is Ms. Gonzalez on? There is a call-in user too. I don't know if that's her.
She wants to know if the privacy fence will be built alongside her property and how high it would be.
Within the 349.13C, so it wouldn't be taller than 6'6".
Okay. because she's afraid that someone's sitting in their car watching their children play. Will the fumes from the cars warming up affect our children and destroy the landscaping?
Yeah, there'll be a fence, so nobody will see them.
A big bump. Okay, yeah, and when the price of gas goes up, nobody's going to be sitting in there.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, and I see you had the bumper guards so that nobody should drive through the fence to destroy her property.
Right.
And who's going to be parking in there? Is it going to be for all the residents of the street?
They'll be our
No,
tenants.
it would be just our tenants.
Okay, will there be signage to say that? So,
Sure.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, we want to make it apparent, right?
okay.
Madam Chair, Ms. Scott had her hand raised.
Yes, Kim.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask the appellant about the cost of the drainage system, because that was really the main item that we had discussed. And so I wanted to just understand, what did you guys come up with? How much is that going to cost?
Yeah, it's going to be between 15 and 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
thank you. I appreciate you giving that the attention that it needs, and I'm sure that this is going to serve your residents. The last kind of question that I have is, at the point that the properties may be sold, at that point, do you have an idea of how you would handle this particular parking lot?
We'd package it.
Yeah, it would be sold as a
Yeah.
package.
Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions? Board?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, thank you. The proposed fence, is that a privacy fence all the way around the perimeter of the lot then?
Correct.
Including the section that's on the front facing the street?
Correct.
Okay.
But the landscape will be in front of it.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. Right.
Okay, that's good.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Liz Kukla. There are code sections that do not allow the solid fence in the front part of that parking lot. So I'm concerned that there will be an additional variance required, and perhaps we should have the applicant apply for a separate permit for the fence, as it hasn't been fully vetted by Building and Housing for zoning issues.
Well, the fact that they're going to put shrubbery in front of it, does that help the process?
Madam Chair, Kim Scott has her hand raised.
Yes, Kim?
So being that this property is in a residential area, there are houses on both sides of this lot. It would make the most sense to have the fence height graded down from the 6'6" height to the rear of the property, and so maybe where the building foundation of the adjacent house is, that the fence be graded down to 4 feet, which would leave a couple of cars, or maybe one car exposed. But that would be my solution or a recommendation.
Madam Chair, this is Lori Wagner. Can I make a comment? It appears, and Building and Housing and Planning can correct me if I'm wrong, but the standard indicates here that the fence has to be at least 4'6" and not more than 5 feet high.
Madam Chair, I'd also like to point out that the diagram has the fence coming all the way to the sidewalk on the right side of the drawing, and that also would have to be lowered or be transparent, 50%, I believe, transparent, so that you don't block, so the cars can see as they're backing in or backing out or of the parking lot.
The code requires 2.5 feet along the driveway there.
Thank you.
And 75% open. So that is a concern. Perhaps the appellant could push back that fence 15 feet is required for the, by the code for the view. So that, the board could, of course, grant something different. Again, I just wonder if it should be a separate permit for the fence. But it seems like you guys are reviewing it now, so we should go
Sure,
forward with
yeah.
it.
We'll lower it there and push it back.
Okay. I would, and if you could enclose a diagram of what the fence will look like. Because you want it 50% open, Liz?
75
75%
in the front.
in the front. Okay.
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 Yes.
So we will temporarily, I think, move, but we will hold us going to review the plan before we ratify the decision. Okay.
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 So what
So
does
what?
that mean?
Yeah.
Hang on. Someone's going to make a motion.
Madam Chair, to Ms. Kukla, what's the distance on the, as we're looking at the plan on the right side where the fence goes all the way to the sidewalk? Do we have a dimension on the distance?
Yeah, the code.
From the sidewalk?
Yeah, the code requires 15 feet back from the sidewalk. Should have that that lower. The code requires 2.5 feet and 75% open. Of course, the board can allow for the 4 feet that the specific code section that Ms. Wagner referenced. The code and the board can allow a 50% open there if they'd like. Also, in general, Madam Chair, 15% of the lot depth, the front part of that, as Ms. Scott recommended, that front part there should be lowered down to the 4 feet in that area that's considered the front yard. So we would need a new site plan showing that that area would be 4 feet on the left side. And then if the board wants the 2.5 feet on the right side, we would want to see that 15 feet back from the sidewalk.
It could be, but it could be 4 foot. Is that right? On the 15, where it's going to be 15 feet?
Yes, as Lori Wagner stated, there's language there that says that you can allow 4 feet there.
Okay.
So yeah, the 50% open could probably give enough of a view of the car, and there would, create less of a dangerous situation there.
Madam Chair, Ms. Scott has additional comments.
Just one last point. Since you're going to revise the site plan, I would recommend that you also include the building foundations on your map. That would be helpful just in terms of context and dimensions.
You mean for the properties adjacent?
Adjacent properties, correct.
So there is only one building on the right-hand side. There's a house. Actually a garage near the front of the property, and then a house in the back to the right corner. So there, to the left, on that left lot, there isn't a house there. There's a garage.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
So I think in general, what the point is, along that street, there are other houses, and I understand what you're saying. So I would just be cognizant of having the features of your parking lot relatable to the other houses along the street. If that makes sense. So let's talk about aligning the highest part of your fence with the existing building foundations.
Okay.
We would want it to not be any further than the building foundation of the houses along the street. There are houses that have porches. Porches don't count. The house with the yellow line around it, obviously, it appears to me has an enclosed front porch. So the front,
That house is gone. That's
no
subject
longer
property.
all right. Okay. But you get my point, right? There's a natural line along the street. And so let's line up the highest portion of your fence to not go in front of that line.
Okay.
15 feet should do it.
Right.
More than do it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're safe with that.
Gotcha.
Okay. I would still entertain a motion.
So, Madam Chair, what are you wanting for the 15 feet?
A 4-foot high, 75% see-through fence.
So 4-foot high
Okay.
chain link fence, or metal.
Not chain link.
Yeah.
Chain link.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Not chain.
Okay.
Be,
So.
It has, yeah.
But that's the standard for the neighborhood. Everybody else has chain link, but I can't do that.
We prefer something a little nicer.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. We'll do like black metal.
That's be fine. Yes.
Yeah,
right.
And
Okay,
4 feet
and
high,
then-
15 feet back.
And on the other side where the shrubbery is there, that will be 4-foot high also.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, bring that or send that plan in, and if we have it here by next Monday, we'll ratify this decision. If we get a decision. Hello, we need a motion.
Right.
So I'll just write it in there about the heights, because I won't have I don't have a plan showing, I'll just have to write it in that they'll be that high.
Okay,
Because I don't have a side view plan.
I got you. Do it in a different color.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, different color. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
Very
Go
good.
ahead, Ms. Faith.
Okay. On calendar number 19-30. Oops, sorry. I'm a page ahead. Calendar number 20-145. We move to approve this variance with the provisions that the appellant will submit a new site plan drawing showing foundations of adjacent buildings as a frame of reference, and specify the materials for the portion of the fence that will be 6 feet high, and for the perimeter on the back sides and the side yard, and that from 15 feet off the sidewalk, the fence will be 4 feet high. Madam Chair, did you want a 75 or a 50%
Yes.
opacity?
75.
Okay. So those portions of the fence that will be 15 feet off of the sidewalk will be 75% opacity, and we'd like to see black ornamental and some photographs of the building materials that you intend to use for that.
Okay.
Once we receive those updated drawings and information, we will ratify your decision if the vote is approved. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. I'll second that. Call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Donovan. Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 20-145 is granted conditionally pending a revised drawing. We will hold that until we receive that. Once we receive it, we'll ratify it and send you a letter.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Wonderful day. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joy.
Bye.
Bye.
Old business, Mrs. Kukla?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Please note that I inadvertently left off the Clifton one that we were reviewing. So if you guys are satisfied with the resolution, we should add that to the agenda today, or to the old business sheet.
Well,
Sure.
I'm looking at the resolution, and when I went through the second page, I circled a thing. We know that the porches will not project in forward of the facade of the building. Is that what Ms. Faith said?
All right, let me pull up that resolution. I don't have it in front of me.
Porches by definition are usually outside of the setback line. They are a legal accessory, if you will, to the house. You don't need to define it. You define the setback line.
Well, Miss Faith in a thing this morning that I've read said something, it was about the balcony porches and not the lower ones. Did I misinterpret that?
Porches is porches.
Whether they're up or down?
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
I
think maybe just take that out of there because it's
I don't call
confusing.
my balcony a porch. I call my balcony a balcony.
Good
Yeah,
for you.
I think I could take that out of there because I think it is confusing.
Okay.
Unless somebody really feels the need to keep it in. I mean,
Well, I don't see the. Are you talking about the bullet points?
Yes.
Is it in the bullet points there?
Yes. It's a third one down.
Okay.
We have it underlined.
Oh, okay, that's the okay.
Okay. And then 1 through 7.
without objection.
Without objection. Ms. Faith?
Without objection. I'm in.
Without objection, I already said it.
Yeah, I know you did.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, are we done?
Are you?
Thank you.
Liz, are you good on that then now?
Yeah, so is that on the final? The one thing that I had underlined was the language that Mr. Donovan wanted put back in there regarding the renderings. So we put that in there for Mr. Donovan. Now, the third item on my bullet points says there will be adequate space for vehicle turnaround in the 30.6 foot vehicle court.
That's my fourth. Okay.
So I have apparently taken that language out already.
Oh, okay.
The final one I sent late last night.
Go to bed early, will you please? Because I don't do.
So that one hit me as I was laying in bed. I realized, Mr. Donovan wanted that rendering information in there. And then I must have taken out that porch language because I didn't like it either at that point, I guess.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I have printed several of the iterations on it. So
Okay.
I think the final covers everything, Liz.
Excellent.
So
Yeah, I wonder if this one is gonna end up. Oh no, sorry. I wanted to be sure. Yeah, it may end up in court